Hey guys, I've been away for quite a while, 2.5 months to be precise, so I've decided to make a vlog about it, mostly in order not to forget what the hell I've been doing this whole time, because a lot of stuff actually happened. I've got a small cheat sheet over here to keep this video more or less structured, and I'm gonna show photos I managed to find as evidence that the things I'm talking about is not actually something I've made up. A little backstory first. I'm doing history reenactment of the 10th century Vikings, and I recently became a member of Silver Wolf, probably the oldest group in Russia that does this particular period of history. I've known them for quite some time, but only recently decided to join, but that's the whole other story. So besides everything normal that Silver Wolf does, we are one of few clubs in the world that organizes and does sailing on ships that were reconstructed according to archaeological findings of our time period. Every year in summer, people are going to Poland to live in Jomsborg, which is a sort of an open air museum in Poland, Wolin. So to live there and to sail the Baltic Sea as the real Vikings did centuries ago. And this summer was the first time I took part in this whole thing. Okay, first of all, we arrived to Poland in the beginning of July and got to Jomsborg. And Jomsborg is amazing. If you're watching this for some reason and you're in Europe, you gotta visit it. It's in the very north of Poland and only a 3-hour drive from Berlin. I've only got a couple of pictures of it, but I will leave the link to their official website in the description so you can check it out. It's got the whole Google Earth thing, so you can actually like see properly see the whole museum. Yeah, maybe I'm excited about it because I've lived there for a month, but as a tourist, it is totally worth checking out, in my opinion, especially at the festival time. But I will tell you about it much later. About the sailing first. We usually split the whole thing, the whole month, into two halves, 2 weeks each, so people can manage their time of work. Usually first 2 weeks it's just sailing, and the second 2 weeks sailing and the festival that takes place in the beginning of August. This year, unfortunately, the first part of the trip we got only 6 people because most people just wanted to visit the festival as well. And out of this 6, three of us, it's me, my friend, and the other guy, we were there for the first time. And as well, it was the first time the head and the Jarl of Silver Wolf, Ragnar, got his captain's license. Before that, he was boatswain for like 6 or 7 years. So we all had something new to discover, and considering the circumstances, we've decided to mostly train in the Shetland Gulf without going into the open sea. But that turned out to be more than enough. Okay. The first 2 days were kinda slow. We basically unpacked, cleaned the house we were gonna live in, cleaned the ship, prepared sails, and went to supplies. Our ship, in English it's called the Young Eagle, and is basically a small workboat. It was reconstructed from a part that was found in the area, and the original part can be seen in a museum in Germany, I think. I don't remember exactly, and okay, and there is no engine, of course, only sails and oars. It weighs about 5 tons, and the mast is 12.5 meters, as I remember. Basically, it is not a big ship. And okay, this day in the beginning, the most exciting part was the whole going for supplies business, because I've never went shopping on a ship, and you see, Wolin itself, it's on an island, so in order to go to the shop, we had to cross a small river, and we had to row across it, and it's basically the best the best way of getting food. Makes it feel like you're really working for it, not just buying it. And besides, we had a chance to practice rowing that really paid off the next day, because there were only four of us to move to row on this 5-ton ship. Because the captain doesn't row, he's steering the ship, and the boatswain, he's on the nose of the ship on the lookout. So it leaves only 4 of us out of 10 people that are supposed to row, which is like less than half. So it was a lot of work. And besides, you're supposed to row for hours without rest. That wasn't hard to the end of the trip, but in the beginning, 3-hour session from Jomsburg to the Gulf was really hard. It seemed endless actually, but at some point you just stop feeling things and you just become a mechanism of the ship that doesn't really want to stop, because if you stop, you just start feeling pain in your hands and back and everything, and it's really hard to get back into this well, almost tranquil state of constant rowing. But you get used to that weird feeling pretty fast. And the hard part, I guess, the hardest part is to catch the rhythm when several people are rowing. It became obvious when we got later another ship with more than 14 people rowing at the same time. It was it was pretty fun. And okay, back to the. Fortunately, that day the weather was good, and after rowing we got to the Gulf, had a little swim, had a snack, and basically went back. And fortunately the wind was good for us, so we went back sailing. And that was the first time I was like sailing at anything, on anything in my entire life. And holy shit, I can't express how awesome and stressful it is at the same time. It really does give a sense of true freedom. It's pretty much like flying really close to the water. But at the same time, you gotta be aware 100% of the time. And it's hard. You can't relax, you can't get lost in thought, because if you do that and you fuck anything up, you have a feeling that that the whole ship is gonna collapse and people are gonna die. And I haven't felt so much responsibility pretty much in my entire life. The most thing I feel responsible for daily is my job, and I work with money. And to be honest, if somebody loses money, I don't give much of a fuck, because it's just money. But when people's lives depend on you, it's the whole other story. And I was to put it like easy, to put it straight, it was tense, I guess. And the other thing was that there was only 6 of us, so only half of the crew. So the things you had to be aware of and actually do, they're like doubled. And we were there for the first time. It was a little bit overwhelming. But we made it back that day. We made it back to Skansen and decided to stay on the ship for the night to get used to all the slipping on the water. And my place was on the very nose of the ship, where you can feel the ship like rolling the most. Unfortunately, I was actually afraid of it, but I have no like seasickness and I was okay. So that was actually quite handy in future, where it was much worse. The next day went pretty routinely. In the morning we rowed back to the Gulf and trained sailing for the whole day pretty much. The next day though was pretty bizarre. There was no wind and incredibly hot, like about plus 35 Celsius. And rowing at this temperature just is a torture. But regardless, we had to get to Sebeş, like our first stop, and our first marina that we wanted to visit to have a little bit of rest and practice like going in and out of marina and docking, which is quite dangerous in terms of the possibility of damaging your ship. So we actually practiced a lot of it, like docking and going out and docking again. So we had several miles, so we were like in the middle of the Gulf, but close to the shore. So we had several miles in front of us, and we tried to stay away from big ships and mostly from freighters, because a freighter can crush us and won't even notice, while we would be just dead. And at some point, after rowing like for several hours, it was too hot. We decided to stop and to cool off having a swim. Right, but it turned out that it wasn't deep at all. It was like waist high, and our captain had a brilliant idea of just taking the anchor and pulling the whole ship with him. As it turned out, it was pretty easy. It was easier than rowing, and all of us took the anchor, the chain, and the rope, and just went for, I think, about 2 miles. We covered 2 miles on foot, just pulling the ship. Basically just pulling the ship, and it was actually a lot of fun. And the funniest thing was the looks on people's faces when they passed us on their yachts, just seeing 5 people pulling the ship, pulling like this old Viking ship, and just we were having a great time. Like it was pretty awesome. And finally we stopped that when it became too deep and we had to cross like a large area, like open water area. We got back into the ship and rowed to Sebeş. And Sebeş actually is like, I guess, the friendliest town I've ever been to, and people in Poland in general are pretty great. But in Sebeş we docked in the marina and decided to go to a restaurant to like have a little celebration of this whole thing actually starting. When we got to the restaurant, not only we were treated really good, and the food was nice. I had some kind of fish. It was really great, and the portions were really big. But the owner actually also gifted us like a whole plate of smoked fish that we could barely finish. And actually we had like a lot of beer with it. It was pretty great. After that, in the evening, when we just got back to the marina, there is a small park in there. We were just having a little chat, just resting, doing nothing, preparing for the next day, when just some random guy, he exited his home nearby. He came to us, gifted us some more, like another like whole plate of the smoked fish that he himself made, and asked to take a picture of with us. Maybe because we were just such an unusual sight or anything, but I was shocked. It's incredibly generous. Like I live in Moscow, people don't do that here. Maybe because Moscow is too big or something, but in Sebeş and also in all the small towns that we visited in this trip, we were treated really well and people were really friendly. I really like that. So this whole night we spent eating and drinking beer and having fun, doing mostly nothing and resting. Which was not for nothing, because the next day we hit our first storm. And actually the storm hit us. It hit us in the morning when we were trying to leave the marina. Actually, the funniest thing about it, that 3 of us, we didn't even recognize it as a whole storm, because it was our like first one. Oh, sorry. It was our first storm, and it's just the weather has gone to shit. There was wind, just rain pouring, but it all happened so damn fast. Mostly because everything happened just guided by continuous yelling and swearing of our captain that just made us do things, a lot of things incredibly fast. And it really paid off. The most distinct thing that I remember is the look on the guy that was like very interested in our ship, and he saw us leaving the marina that day. He looked at us as if we are madmen, just leaving in the storm. But regardless, this time was like was the fastest I've seen this ship move. We crossed the whole Gulf in a matter of minutes. We went from Shebesh to Stepnitsa, and yeah, I just remember how great it was, because we were like basically rising the edge of the storm, and it was cold, probably, but I didn't even notice that. It just was incredibly awesome and adrenaline filled. So you really had to concentrate, but yeah, everything happens too damn fast. Especially yeah, when you're like stressed, concentrated, and happy at the same time. So when we ended up in Stepnitsa, we just we docked in their marina, just covered the ship with tents, and yeah, and basically waited out the storm there. It ended quite quickly, actually. Like in the middle of the day, the weather was pretty good. So we went to Stepnitsa. I also saw this, like had a little walk in the town, met the head of the marina, who turned out a pretty cool guy, and I was really happy that we visited. In the evening, we decided to open up our local bar, like our ship's bar, that's called the Eagle's Beak, because all the alcohol is held like in the very nose of the ship, where the rope is, in order not to damage it. And we got pretty much wasted on rum and beer, and we mixed the two, which is not a good idea, but it got us drunk really fast. We even invited this guy, the head of the marina, and he himself invited us to judge like a local Miss Summer and wet t-shirt contest that unfortunately I really regretted, but we didn't do. Mostly because it took part like in a couple of days, but our next day was pretty much the most extreme thing I've ever lived through. Yeah, so about that. The next day started with a hangover, actually, because yeah, mixing rum and beer is not a good idea, and we were in an okay shape, like not the best, but we rested for some time. But in the morning, every day we woke up at like 6, and so we had maybe 4 hours of sleep. I had 4 hours of sleep. I don't know about the other guys. So we woke up in the morning and went back to the Gulf. The weather started to get really bad, really fast, so we just decided to stop. We put our first anchor into the water, just put tents on the ship to cover us from rain, made some food, and just we were passing time playing dice. And the dice that our captain has, they're quite amazing. It's like two like small pigs, and you throw these pigs, and the amount of points you get is just determined by what positions these two pigs take. And I always lose at this, but Ragnar is actually really good at it, and mostly every time we lose to him. So we were just playing this dice when suddenly Ragnar he just leaps off his place and goes to the nose of the ship, because he saw our ship moving despite of the fact that we were anchored, and he just puts our second anchor into the water. And this doesn't fucking help. We continue moving, which is incredibly bad because right ahead of us, like where we were like just pulled, there were a lot of fishing nets, and if we were caught in the fishing nets, like with our two anchors in the water, we would be screwed, and we wouldn't be able to get out of there. The reason we were pulled there because it's just the wind was blowing with such force, the tents and the mast became sails just on themselves. So what we had to do is just put away everything to make the ship less like sail worthy. The tents were gone in a couple of seconds, and really fast because we've done it several times already. But the mast, it was the whole other story, and we've asked Ragnar several times to just put the mast down and up again as a training session, because we've never, like, three of us have never done this on that ship. But of course we delayed, so the first time three of us would ever put down the mast on this ship was in the middle of the fucking storm. And it was a full-on storm at that point. Just the weather, the wind, the rain, it was totally... It was just out of the movies, I guess. So what we did is we hit out the lock of the mast with our bare hands because we had nothing, like just nothing nearby, and we started to put down the mast. It is quite heavy, it's like 12 meters of solid wood, and there were only 5 of us doing that because the captain Ragnar, he was just tying up the ropes and doing something else. I don't even remember parts, like things that I was doing, and I wasn't paying attention to what he was doing. The problem with the mast was with putting it down is that the chest that we held our food in, it was blocking the way. So we resulted in the situation that we can't put down the mast all the way. So 4 of us, and me including, we were holding the mast just angled on our hands, while the 5th guy was trying to just pull the chest like from below the mast, so we could just put it down. But the chest was like the handles were shit, and I distinctly remember the moment when the guy just he pulls the handle and the handle just flies off. It just got torn because it was only 2 nails was holding it, and the guy nearly just goes overboard. And we don't have like life vests or anything, which is against the rules actually, but no, we didn't wear them. So if he went overboard, he would be just gone off the face of the earth. And I'm trying to remember like what exactly happened, but I think that when we were holding the mast, the captain finally finished what he was doing, and he helped just moving the chest away. After that, he went to the very nose, so we did put down the mast, and he was tying it, and that's like when the hell broke loose. The only thing we could do is just to hold to the mast just as tight as possible while the captain was tying it, because if he didn't tie it, it would just, if it moves, it would break the lock with a part of the ship with it, and we would just drown. So he was tying it, and the waves were incredibly big. It's like we were facing the steer of the ship. It's the very back of the ship, while the nose was behind us. And when I looked, like the nose was somewhere there. It was like several meters above my head, and the rain. The worst part was the rain. It was like 1,000 needles hitting you in the back. It was painful. It was like horizontal rain, incredibly, just hitting at you at incredible speed, like the whip, over and over again. And I remember I was holding the mast so tightly. It was here, so I was holding it like that, and this whole part became dry, regardless of like all the shit and water like everywhere. This part was dry because I was holding it like with my full strength, and we had no choice but to wait. We had to outwait this part in order to get a chance to do something else. And it went, I think, from half an hour to an hour maybe. And it wasn't pleasant. And if I actually saw that in a movie, I would say that people are overacting and the direction has cliches just up its ass. It was like out of the pictures that I saw, like in galleries, old pictures of sea and ships and in storm. Just incredible, and I can't really describe it in full. So after that, after this hour, we finally had a chance to do something, and we prepared a tent. We just put a tent above several things, and above the benches that we were sitting on, and got under it. I was shaking. I was only wearing my pants at this point, so I felt like the rain hitting my back with full force. And as I was only wearing pants, I was shaking of cold. It was incredible. I couldn't stop shaking, so I went under the bench with other guys. So we just tried to keep warm for another several minutes, till we had an opportunity to do something more when the weather calmed down a bit. Yeah, that was not pleasant. But when we finally had this opportunity, I just forced myself to change into woolen clothes I had, and immediately when I changed, I just stopped shaking. These things, they just saved my life, because after that I was able to work and start just doing something to save the ship. In a matter of minutes, when this thing finally calmed down, we had a chance to put the tents more or less properly, and prepare our sleeping places, because we had a whole night ahead of us in this storm. But when everything was finished, when the tents were up, when I had my sleeping place ready, and I had my woolen blanket, I was keeping warm, and I actually thought that it was finished, and I even managed to get maybe an hour of sleep because before the second part of the storm hit. And the second part was insane. Perhaps if we were out there, it would be even more insane than the first part. But we were inside, and the moment I just jumped up off my place is when I saw the whole tent. The wind just blew at such force, the whole tent became like a giant parachute, and I thought we would either fly away or the tent would be just ripped off. So we all just jumped off our places and tried to hold the tent with our hands in order to just pull it down with our weight. And I saw what was happening on the outside. It was fucked up. And the rain, I've never seen such rain, and I've never seen such lightning. The lightning was it's like it's a flash that goes for maybe 2 or 3 seconds and makes you blind. So the last thing you see is the only thing you see for maybe 5 more seconds. And I was holding the tent like this, facing the floor of the ship, and every time the lightning hit, I saw 1,000 just drops of water going inside the ship, and thinking, wow, we are fucked. And the wind was blowing at such force that I swear to God I saw thin black hands trying to rip the tent off. So maybe I was just hallucinating out of exhaustion and out of how ridiculous the whole situation really was. I just at some point I don't even remember what happened. We spent like the whole night like this, and I think I just passed out of exhaustion at some point. Uh, because when I finally woke up, and I don't even remember like the moment that is. I just remember waking up with everybody else, and the whole ship was a mess. It was just things were on top of things. It was messy, and the mast just down, the sails down, all the tents are like in a really bad condition. Oars were just outside the ship because we used them to tie the tents to like weight them down. Yeah, it was a mess. So, and we were tired. We spent like we woke. Yeah, I think we just put the ship in order as fast as possible, and decided to make our way to the nearest marina, that was Shebesh again. And when we got into the marina was also like, it was also a total mess. It was like uprooted trees, all like no like structure damage. I don't think so. But the park that we were in, it was pretty fucked. Like branches, like just big branches, were like on down on the earth, and trees down. Yeah, it was not a beautiful sight. And when we got back, the people that saw us going back into the marina after the storm in the morning, they were incredibly surprised. The head of this particular marina, he just yeah, he was flabbergasted. I love that word. He was so shocked that we made it, because he said that it actually was like a 10 point on the Beaufort scale storm, which is really harsh. And I'll leave the Wikipedia link in the description. What's the Beaufort scale? And two motorboats were destroyed during the storm, and a yacht was torn to pieces with two people dead on it. So he couldn't believe his eyes that just a shit wooden boat like ours, with absolutely nothing modern on it, could survive that, and that we were all alive. I think it's I think it's some sort of a miracle, maybe. But actually, if we were just sitting there, we would be probably dead. So I don't know if it's a miracle. I just we were doing everything like what we had to. And it's mostly Ragnar, actually, because without his orders we wouldn't know what to do. So all my regards go to him for saving our lives, because yeah, he can't think straight in these situations. And I was only following orders. I was just yeah, order was shouted at me, and I was like, yeah, I gotta do it. And I was mostly just concentrated on the task and not just thinking about anything else, trying to ignore the winds, the rain, the cold, the pain, everything. it was pretty insane. But we had several more days just in front of us, so we couldn't stop. And the next couple of days, I wouldn't say were easy as well. The reason is we had to get back to Wolin to give the ship to another captain, because he was being an asshole. But I won't be talking about it. The way to Wolin was shit, because most of the time the wind was blowing in our faces, so we couldn't get an easy return. And all of this meant, and you probably might have guessed, a lot of rowing. And rowing against the wind and the waves, it's just the worst. The waves were like maybe a meter or two high, and the wind was blowing quite harshly as well. We tried to trick it, so we got to the final, like, just to the point when we had to row, just by pulling the ship, just as we did before, just by sailing in like zigzags and by rowing, of course. But at some point we just couldn't do anything. We had to cover several miles of distance just by rowing. And doing it against the wind, our days turned into sleep, wait till wind just calms down, row, sleep again, and repeat. It's just 4 hours of rowing took us only maybe 100 or 200 meters in distance covered. It was insane, and after a couple of days, like it was 2 or 3 days, we realized that we would never make it in time for like another captain to take the ship and go on his trip, and he was really like upset about it and going to like the museum owner about it, and so we decided to just to call a workboat to pull us back to Wolin. And so it is, and we gave our ship just in an ideal condition. We cleaned it, it was just shining, and the sails, everything. Ragnar was really particular about it, so we gave the ship back in an ideal condition to the other captain. And the worst part was that he actually stayed in Wolin for the next several days, but he just wanted the ship. It's not a pretty thing and quite dumb, and on his trip he also met like some trouble and even called an SOS, so the helicopters went to rescue them or something. And when they got back, they were late like a week, and when they got back, the captain told the crew that the Russians want to steal the ship, so they had to like just live there and not leaving the ship, and just be there 24/7 in order to stop Russians from stealing it, and probably us just walking like right by next to the ship, just giving it kind of dirty looks didn't help. So as a result, we were not able to get this ship back for the second part of our like summer sailing activities. But regardless, the next 2 weeks I've enjoyed greatly. We spent the whole 2 weeks living like in a completely accurately reconstructed house, and I couldn't find pictures of the front of the house, but I found pictures of the interior of the house, and I just don't bring my camera to these things, so I only rely on other people taking pictures. So it's a bit of a mess, but some of them are really good, and I can show you the way we were living, like the way we were sleeping. We were sleeping on the second floor, where it was always warm because of the like clay oven or like furnace that was on the first floor, that we even used to make our own bread, like historically accurate bread. And it was always warm there, and we had no problem at all, even when it was like raining and the weather was shit. And we organized our kitchen, which became really awesome, especially after we made like giant chests for it, so we can where we can store stuff. Because unfortunately we just it's the civilized area, so we had to go to the shop for like meat and other things. So we tried to keep all the like unauthentic things hidden. So we would keep like the appearance of the house is like more or less historically accurate. What we ate, we also tried to eat like historically accurate food. But the rich version of it, because we ate a lot of meat. Like every day we made like boiled meat with spices from local garden and salt that was harvested in like non-modern ways. We trained every day in sword fighting, because Ragnar is a really great swordsman. When I saw him move for the first time, it was like the Witcher from like The Witcher 2. It was amazing, and I was happy to get a chance to train with him. And every morning, later on the last week, every morning we started with like 3-4 hour like rowing session on the other ship that our friend, well, basically gave to us for the summer. He just got the ship to take part, like to be in the festival, and we helped him to get this ship in order. And he said that we can use it. So every day we were rowing for quite some time. It's just every day to the Gulf and back, and everybody got a chance to steer it, to row, to just to practice. Every day, every evening, we were drinking grog, like real grog, and singing. And singing was actually awesome because, especially when Ragnar's like shanty group arrived, and they are pretty much professionals. They're like, they win international tournaments of like the shanty singing, so it was really good. Especially they kind of spoiled me because I can't stand people singing when they're drunk, because they always do it like shit. But they were doing it really, really well. And let me tell you about like real grog. How you make it? It's actually pretty easy. You get like a big cup, as big as possible. You pour like half of the cup is tea and half of the cup is rum, with like sugar, honey, oranges, and cinnamon there. And just the thing is, don't hold back on the rum. The rum is the most important part, and you should really like for 5 cups. It was a big bottle, like a liter bottle of rum, went for 5 cups that we made. It's my favorite drink so far. It's sweet, it's hot, and it makes you drunk. It's amazing. And remember that the only real rum is dark rum. Don't use any other. Maybe like golden rum is more or less okay, but white rum is just quite shit. It's a whole distilled and it's clean and it's not real. Just use dark rum. We used Captain Morgan Black Label something, black spiced rum, and Bacardi dark rum, and it was pretty cool. So try it, you won't regret it. Well, while we were living in Wisconsin, we took part in 2 big projects. Firstly, a film crew arrived to shoot a movie about like Russian history of that period that we are reenacting. So we were like hired as actors. And the second part we were doing is that we were working for the museum, organizing performances and stuff for the tourists that visited. And there were a lot of tourists actually visited every day. Just like buses of people come and go. It's insane. A lot of children, of course, like schools from Germany, Poland. A lot of Germans actually. I think there was a bus of people from England and other European countries, maybe Sweden, but mostly Germans, as Berlin is quite close, and Poland, from Poland, of course. I guess I'll start from what we were doing for the museum, because it's quite amusing. In the beginning, we just started with basic sword training, so people could just watch and maybe take part in it. But several days later, we decided to spice up the whole experience with with basic training, but using a giant, like 2.5 meters high, just this wide wooden log that we were just carrying through it, just throwing it back and forth, doing all sorts of exercises with it. But the funniest part was the competition of who throws the log the furthest. The farthest. So the competition was... It went like this. We divided into teams, 3 people. Each team had 3 people in it, and so the team together had to just take the log and throw it as far as possible, and only one team wins, every other team loses. As punishment, the losing teams had to perform a special like thing that Ragnar made up. It mostly went down to like just carrying the winning team around Skansen on our backs or on our arms or something like that. That was quite amusing, and I won actually. I won the biggest, I think, the biggest competition. My team like won the biggest competition of those. So we were carried like around the whole Wisconsin on just 6 people carrying 3 people, and we were just rising their back screaming some sort of stupid shit. But the toughest competition my team actually like the biggest one we won, but the most punishing one we lost. The most punishing one was that we had to perform a human centipede, like a Viking style human centipede. And it was, I can't even describe it. I think I would just show you photos of it, because it's really hard to explain, but it becomes infinitely easier if you just see it. And the worst part of it, that we couldn't do it. We had to, I'll just show you the photos right now. So if you're looking at the photo, we had to move like this for about 50 meters, and we couldn't do it. We fell apart every fucking time at around like meter 10, because it's really hard when you are in front. You want to just be as quick as possible, but the problem is the guy in the back. The guy in the back is the only guy who uses all his 4 limbs to move, so it's really hard to do it as fast as the guy who uses only his arms. So the last guy always just is slower than the first one, so the thing falls apart. Like the last guy just cannot be held by the guy in the middle, so it all falls apart. We couldn't do it, and it was like everybody was laughing. It was incredibly funny, except for us, I guess, because it is hard. Like physically, it is not pleasant. Then again, after going to the beach, we practiced some other games that we then implemented in Skansen. The games were, okay, I don't know like the names of it, but I'll explain them. First, like rope skipping, it's quite self-explanatory, but the difference is that 2 people constantly just use the rope like at the very high speed. So the thing is, you gotta run into like this area when where the rope is, jump, just skip to the next guy who's holding the rope, and exit. And not a lot of people could actually do it, and I think I've only done it like twice. But most people got caught in the rope or in the very beginning or in the very end. So these are like the hardest parts. And then it's wall-on-wall fighting. Wall-on-wall fighting is quite easy. It's like 2 teams, and you try to push through the other team's like wall. So you want to break their ranks just and push through. It's mostly it's for training shield walls, but it's fun just out on itself. And there is also like a punching version of it when you're allowed to punch. You can't punch the face, but you can punch like the whole other body to break the enemy, just the opponent's line. So that was that. Then there is pulling. There's a rope between 2 teams, and you have to pull other people onto your side. And this was fun and resulted in several traumas, but it was really fun. Actually, a guy like almost broke a knee there and had to be hospitalized, but it was like a lot of laughs. And the thing I like the most is the, like, I don't know how to call it, like avoid the rope. So you get a big rope and tie a knot in the shape of the fist on like on the one end of it, and then you like whirl it around you. So all other people they have to just run to you, just touch you or hit you and run back. Well, you have to catch them. If you catch them, they lost. If they succeed, they get the rope and do like the whole same thing. It was a lot of fun, and I was really successful when we were doing it on the beach. Maybe because when I was doing it, I was hitting the balls with this with this thing, and it was incredibly painful. So I was a little bit disappointed, I guess. So when I got the rope finally, I was there for like maybe 14 minutes just hitting people as hard as I could, just as sort of revenge. But yeah, I almost also got my knee broken when the guy just fling himself just down from the rope, and his head hit just the side of my knee, and it was also not pleasant. Unfortunately, I got there without a trauma, but my balls were hurting regardless. So that was that, and yeah. Also for Skansen, Ragnar and his shanty crew, they were doing songs almost every evening, and it always resulted in the owner of the museum presenting us like bottles of alcohol or just crates of beer, which was great. And we were working as like we were taking tourists on this other ship and just giving them little trips on the river, just a couple of yeah, I think maybe 15 minutes of like river tripping, river tripping, yeah. And we even made some money on it, like some money for extra beers. It was actually pretty great, and also like an additional training for us. So, the other thing was the film shooting. It was actually a lot of fun, especially several moments of it. I didn't got like any big role or anything. I was just one of the Vikings there, and nothing extremely special. But three scenes are worth mentioning nonetheless. So the first scene, it's like three scenes, okay. The feast, the Viking feast and the aftermath, the war, and the funeral. I'll start with the feast. The feast was great because, well, basically, the film needed a scene when Vikings are feasting, having a party. So we decided to make it as genuine as possible. We've ordered a lot of food at the film's crew expense, of course. A lot of meat, a lot of beer, like just a whole lot of alcohol, and got wasted out of our minds while the crew was shooting. But they were shooting only the first part, and then they joined us. It was like. And I think this is the part of the movie where I will be, and I will be completely wasted there. Because you see, during the feast, they had to... they had several scenes. Like the Jarl, the Viking Jarl presents seasoned warriors with gifts like silver and stuff, and just greets new warriors and presents them with also presents to allows them to drink at his table and all sorts of stuff like that. And we were the new warriors. So in the beginning, for the whole camera thing, we were presented with like a horn of meat that we had to drink. But in the beginning, it was organized so the new warriors. The horn is like huge. It's gigantic. I mean, it has like maybe maybe two whole bottles of meat, like maybe 2 liters. Yeah, it is big. And in the beginning we were presented with not a full horn. It was like actually didn't have a lot of meat in it, so we had to drink it full in order to just thank the Jarl for allowing us to join him and at his table, of course. So we drank. I drank the first horn, but after that, when people already got a little bit wasted, I was presented with the second horn, and the second horn was like half full. It was a bottle, maybe more of a bottle, and the mead is like it's really strong. It's real. It's really strong, really sweet. It's you can drink a lot of it, but it makes you just wasted. So I was drunk, so I was quite cocky, and I just say, yeah, no problem, I'll drink it. Just and the Jarl presented me with the second horn of mead, and I finished it. But after I did it, I don't remember, maybe an hour and a half of what happened next. I was just it's one of few times when my mind just got blank because of alcohol. As people just told me later, I was just happily wandering around, just laughing and headbutting people as hard as I could, because I guess because I couldn't feel a thing. Because the next thing I remember is me waking up on a hill, just with a friend, just like right next to me, just looking over me in order I wouldn't hurt myself or anything. But when I woke up, I just, yeah, in a matter of minutes I was actually okay and decided to join to rejoin the party. That Yeah, that resulted in the whole night. So we were drinking for the whole night. So just also drinking, singing. We drank everything we could find, and it was amazing. We made the whole crew just wasted. The whole film crew just wasted, and all the guys who work in the museum, or all the guys who already came for the festival. It was gigantic. All the people we could find, they were drunk. But the funny thing is that in the morning we had to film how Vikings go raiding. And it's quite an important and really posh scene when Vikings enter the ship and go raiding for loot. It was hilarious because I had maybe an hour or two of sleep. A friend of mine, he had 40 minutes of sleep, yeah. And a lot of people were just still wasted completely. And the Vikings, our guys who went there, were a lot of been barefoot, even without shoes. I was wearing just only working clothes that I had that were, it looked like shit. They were dirty, and especially after waking up on the hill, in some sort of dirt. And we had to wear helmets for this scene, so just imagine helmets, Vikings in helmets, totally looking like everything else looks like shit. And guys, we couldn't even just, we tried to walk straight and we failed, and we had to row to the Gulf and back, and the whole filming session, it took I was 4 hours, and the cameraman was drunk. On the previous day we're just making fun of him because he passed out on the bench like this, and was swearing at us for making just fun of him. It was insane, but thankfully I have to thank the French reenactors who saved our asses, because they were pretty sober and they were properly dressed, so, and they looked awesome. So they were pretty much the guys who went raiding, and we were just some bums that decided to join, and it was really funny. After that we were just when the filming ended, we just passed out, and that's it. So the next thing is the war filming. These scenes I like the least, because every time we do this for, we do a lot of filming actually, and every time the war is the most boring, because you have to fight the same fights over and over again, and it's exhausting and dull, and it's you have to do it over and over again, especially because oh, there we can see that the spear is not looking good, and let's do it again. Oh, the guy smiled on the camera and we can't do it, or someone looked at the camera or something. So it's quite awful, and it takes a lot of fucking time. But the funniest part in this particular session was, is when we were like smeared all over with fake movie blood. And there was a battle scene when like Vikings are killing each other, so we had to die beautifully. And we were just all in this like red blood that I decided not to clean off, so my leather armor is still like covered in blood, and I don't think I can just clean it off anymore. But it's quite like it's all yeah, it's not clean out of itself, so I decided, fuck it, I just leave it like this. And every time, like when we got to war, yeah, on the festival, yeah, we were all like, our whole regiment was just all bloody and like doing just scary faces, and every time we attacked, just people, I don't know, maybe because we were attacked or so or anything, just people did a step back, so we broke their line every time. It was really funny, but I think the blood was not the last element of it, because we were like looking crazy. No, so that was that. And the last scene that was kind of funny is the funeral. We had like a funeral of like a Russian kniaz. The corpse was Vlad, and Vlad is a pretty cool guy. He's Russian. He lives in Germany. And what he does is he's the collector and the seller of rare antiques. So when he arrived, and he has a lot of, by the way, a lot of great stuff for sale. Just he doesn't sell them to tourists mostly. So when he arrived, actually, like the fisherman hut that was also covered like in shields, axes, like weapons, swords all over the place. We also got like a Moroccan plate, I think, and Portuguese vases around the place. So it was like the richest hut in the family, in the settlement. So like the fisherman's family was the richest one ever. Like it was the hut inside was insane. It was no way fisherman's hut. Despite all the fish like around and all the stuff, but inside, yeah, there were some rare stuff. And Vlad himself, he looks, yeah, he looks quite entertaining, I'd say. So they made a corpse out of him, just all the makeup and stuff. And the filming of the funeral is what I like. I liked it because it was just movie magic in action. For example, to carry the corpse, we just found some old thing to carry stuff, just manually carry stuff, with a giant hole in the middle. So we covered it up with furs, and Vlad, he's not a very tall guy, so he managed to get it onto there, and he was wearing like beautiful silk clothes and shirts. Just we covered him in like red cloak, or having all the like beautiful pictures and ornaments on it. So it was really impressive, and we were filming it just on the back entrance of the Skansen, with the road just behind us, and it actually looked pretty impressive with all the random people we asked to participate, and they were glad to help. Like people, there were Russians from Belarus, Polish people. We all made just a great scene. But in fact, the fact that it was just like near the freaking road in the back entrance with a swamp nearby. I haven't seen the movie. The movie will be out in 2015, but from what I can tell, it looks pretty impressive. And it was fun. Just carrying Vlad was a little bit annoying, because we had to carry him back and forth like 5 or 6 times, so yeah, my shoulder hurt after that, and I had to cover myself because I was like not through some of the Viking regiment, but it was I was given like a leather hood, and it was pretty hot inside of it. When they were burning the corpse, it was also like the corpse was lying somewhere on the hill, and they were just flinging flames in front of the camera. And in the end, just Vlad got so used to being a corpse that he didn't want to stand up, so we nearly just flinged him into the swamp in all his like silver, like expensive silver clothes, silver like silk clothes, and silver like everything that he has. But yeah, that's the time that he just jumped up and went away, because yeah, he couldn't risk it all. It's all, yeah, it's incredibly expensive. And that's basically it. This is what we were doing before the festival. And the festival itself, well, it was pretty damn intense. And it was my first European festival. I took part in several, like in Russian festivals, of course. But the scale is on the whole other level, because besides Wolin is like the biggest, I think the biggest European festival for that particular time period, so like period of history. And in battle there were about 1,000 people, so it's 500 versus 500, while in Russia the scale is much like smaller. It's usually like 100 versus 100 or something like that. So seeing like 500 people in front of you is pretty amazing. And okay, for those of you maybe who are not familiar with this, the war goes this way. So everything we have is pretty much real as it can get. The only difference is that the swords and axes, they're not sharp, so people wouldn't actually die. If you're getting hit in the hit zone, you just fall as if you're dead, and you have only 1 hit point. So yeah, and this is pretty much the rules. Everything else is your own personal skill. In Wolin it goes this way. There is Jomsburg, and Jomsburg is pretty much the biggest Viking group in the world. They actually, yeah, they had like one of their festivals they had on, I think in the Caribbean, on Tahiti or something like that. I don't know, somewhere on the island resort. It's pretty mind blowing. So it's Jomsburg with several clubs that support them, and everybody else is on the other side. And basically, Silver Wolf is the head of everybody else, and we're kind of an underdogs there. With Ragnar actually being the head commanding officer of our side. So there were 3 days. Every day there were 3 battles, and in the first day there were 5-on-5 battles. And the first day was the worst for us because, well, we actually lost everything we could lose. I don't know why. Oh, actually, I know why, because we fucked up. But okay, so the big battles. Actually, the first 2 battles were hilarious for me, at least. We're standing like 500 against 500, and I look in front of me and I see just 4 rows of guys in front of me, and I think, oh, well, piece of cake. And I'm always in the first row because I fight with a shield and an axe. Basically, I'm a tank in MMO terminology. So I think that there must be 3 rows of guys behind me, and when I turn back I see only 1 guy there, and I was like, wow, what the fuck happened, where are all the others? And he says, I got your back, and laughs. I was shocked, and I see in front of me 4 rows of guys, behind me 1 guy, and me. No, of course there was like a first row, and the second row is pretty scarce. Yeah, just no surprise that we lost. We held for maybe a minute, and not too much, and we were just overwhelmed with the amount of people that were trying to murder us. And first 2 battles were pretty much the same. They were like this. In the third battle, we changed our tactics, so we formed like in the last moment before we were like facing each other. We decided to form like needles that will pierce through the enemy's lines, and it actually worked. I was on the very front of one of the needles, and I nearly made it to the whole other side of the battlefield. What it had to achieve, we had to like break the enemy's lines and seize the opportunity to murder them, but and we achieved it. It was surprising for the other side that we would do that. And as I was told, we did it almost perfectly, but unfortunately it was a surprise for our own side that we would do that, because not everybody heard like the yeah, the plan. So nothing actually came out of it, so we lost the third battle as well. And 5-on-5 battles, like bridge battles, we lost. My team that I was in, it lost in the first, actually in the first round, unfortunately, because well, the people we were up against were scumbags. I can't find another word, because they were just doing yeah, they were just scumbags. Basically, I don't even mention the part that they didn't, when they got hit, they didn't like lie down. They didn't go down as if they were dead. And I don't even care about it, because a lot of people do it and you have to cope with it. What really pissed me off is when I was down. When I was down, I was repeatedly hit in the head with a sword, just for kicks, I guess. And it was really a really douchey thing to do, because just why would you do that? I just, yeah, you already killed me, just move on with your fucking life. You don't just stand there and repeatedly hit someone in the head for nothing. And it's, even wearing a helmet, it's not great, like, just... Yeah, so, but I guess there are assholes in every activity you can get into, so yeah, that's what really pissed me off. And the judges were, I don't know, were looking the other way or something, but we don't cheat, like in Silver Wolf. Ragnar doesn't, like, if some of us would be caught cheating, we would be punished really harshly, and we're not even allowed to discuss, like, to argue about the rules, because it's against the rules of our own. If we win, we should win like there should be nothing to argue about, that we won like clean, and we were just ahead of the opponents. So yeah, this is it, and for us it was over. The first day was over pretty quickly. The second day and the last day, though, were pretty great. So, yeah, the first day was shit, but we made a comeback, I guess, because the next day and the day after, we were leaving the battlefield as if we were like the winners, the heroes. Just people were applauding, we were singing. It was amazing. The first battle, because we completely changed our tactic in the second two battles, and Ragnar just took all the Silver Wolf. He broke Silver Wolf into two teams and got us just away from the front lines, from everywhere. We were the regiment that had to break through stuff, and this is what we did. Every time we successfully broke the enemy's lines. Every time we just two lines of us, maybe 6-7 people in a line, and what we did is we just went through. The first time we did it, the enemy was so shocked. They couldn't do anything. We killed everybody, like everybody. It was a clean victory, very beautiful. Of course, my role, I'm in front. I died most of the times. I died pretty quickly, maybe just pushing away or killing one or two guys. But yeah, I went down. Every time I went down, I went down with a hit to the back, because I broke through the enemy's lines, and one of the guys that, like, to the side, I got hit in the back. Well, I don't know, maybe because I guess it's normal, and you can't really get protected from anything, so that's the way I died most of the time. Actually, it was pretty funny, because it was really like I was full of adrenaline every time we broke through. I remember one time when, I think it was the second or the third battle in the second day, when I was just when I was running up against maybe three spearmen, and I was dodging spears just pointed at me like just like a freaking just like a freaking snake trying to get through them, to just push them aside with my shield and trying to hit them with my axe. And I remember distinctly how just when I get to them, I get hit with a broadaxe, like with a two-handed axe, like just on my shield. I don't know where it landed. I think it landed on the on the steel part. So yeah, I have a mark there. But the guy actually broke his two-handed axe on my shield. And where I died, I died right nearly, like just I was looking at this two-handed axe and I really wanted to steal it, but I didn't, and I kind of regret it. But that was pretty great. So that day and the day after, we were also really successful in the first battle. Unfortunately, the second two we lost. I don't know what's the reason for it. Maybe because people got tired on our part, or got too cocky because of the first victory, or maybe the opponents were making like good comebacks. Just our part, we played our part pretty good, and we were breaking the lines of the opponents. Just we were always like in an inch of the victory every time, because we won like the first battle, we win like just amazingly. The second two battles, everybody, oh yeah, we won, we were good, and we lose because of that. Yeah, I don't know the actual reasons. I just what pissed me off is when I see people on our side and on the opponent's side. There are a lot of people who just don't do anything. They take a weapon maybe once a year to take part in the festival and don't train, don't do anything, and they come there, they come like they're at the concert, so they're going back and forth with a weapon, just looking, huh? Maybe I can hit someone, and they don't push, they don't fight, they just stand there waiting to be a hero or just to kill anyone because they think that's the most important. Well, the most important thing is the line, like the shield wall that you have to hold and they have to break. They don't seize the opportunity. It was funny how like on our side there were like just a line of people, on the other side there were two spearmen, and everybody is afraid to just push and kill them, and two spearmen basically just holding back 10 people, and it's hilarious. Yeah, in the second day, what I remember the most is like when we broke the line, and we completely annihilated the guys, and we broke the line, and I was really happy because I was finally alive. There was no one in front of me. I was like, yeah, I was like, I was looking for our guys I could join, or just an enemy I could kill. This is when I noticed like a guy to the right side of me, a spearman actually. He looks at me, he throws away his spear, and I didn't get why he did it, but when he threw away his spear, he jumped to me, he hugged my helm, and it was a big guy, like bigger than me, and he was wearing like full like iron plate armor, so he was much heavier than me in my like leather armor. And he just hugged my helm and just fell back, and of course I fell with him, and according to the rules, if you fall, you're dead. So both of us were dead, and he was laughing, I was mad and disappointed. I was like, holy fuck, what the fuck did you do? And yeah, so that's the worst thing, like I think the worst way to die. He didn't even poke me with a spear, he just threw away his spear and died with me like heroically. Well, and it was like the time when I just when we killed everybody and there was just a free space and I could like participate in the second part of the battle when we destroyed the enemy, but we actually didn't. So yeah, that was that. But every day, like the second and the third day when we were leaving the battlefield, it was amazing. People were applauding, and we were like we were living on the high notes. It was great. So yeah, that was the festival for me. Except like in between during nights we were drinking with a lot of other guys, and one night we were drinking with reenactors from Hungary. So and me and my friend we decided to travel a little bit after the festival. So we went to Budapest. We decided to go to Budapest, and I wanted to visit the city for quite some time because my mother has spent several years living there, and she was always talking very highly of it. So I wanted to visit it, and the guys from Hungary, they actually agreed to take us there for free. That was incredibly generous of them. So we basically we didn't know what to buy them, so we bought like a crate of beer for them, and they took us like it was a 12-hour ride from Wolin to Budapest. And let me tell you, Budapest is incredible. I really one of the best cities I've been to, and I've traveled quite a lot. I knew nothing about it, so just some pictures, but pictures of old houses, but pretty much every city has it. But Budapest is, well, what I can tell you is about Budapest, the city is beautiful, the women incredibly beautiful, food and beer are great and cheap, and it's totally worth visiting. Yeah, both of us, me, like Pasha, my friend, yeah, we were shocked. We just wanted to stay and live there. Yeah, and bathhouses are incredible. So the city, the architecture, you may probably find the pictures, but it is all like old buildings. It's really cool, and it looks amazing, really gothic. Maybe I think, yeah, I think that's the proper description, but yeah, it actually makes you want to live there. The second part, like women, I don't know why. Maybe we were just very lucky, or maybe it was like spending a month without women's attention, because we're like yeah, mostly in a man's company like for the whole month. But a lot of so much incredibly beautiful, and women in Poland are beautiful, in Hungary just insanely beautiful, and we were just to the point that we wanted to kill ourselves because the last thing you expect when you're like at 4 a.m. you're drunk, and we had a bar crawl actually, and the bar crawl was amazing. At the 10th bar we ran out of money, but yeah, and with 5 liters of beer we decided like a glass of beer. So about, yeah, after the 10th bar we ran out of money. But it was enough to just to make us drunk and happy, I guess. So we were just roaming the streets, singing every song we've learned during our stay in Wolin. But the thing is, the last thing you expect when at 4 a.m. you are just getting sober but pretty damn tired, you just stumble onto McDonald's to eat some shit food, and the fucking supermodel is serving you like McDonald's shit. We were just, what the fuck? How the fuck do you live in this town? Just in this city? How can you cope with that? And even in the subway, the ticket sellers are like young, cute girls, and not like in Russia. They're all old women who have nothing better to do. But in Budapest, beautiful women sell you train tickets, and that's the thing apparently. And it was incredible. So. Yeah, the food and beer, everything we had is like also amazing. The worst part was that several bartenders tried to screw us because they thought that we are drunk, but and just don't count money. But yeah, I guess we are Russians, and we are well aware, try to stay aware even when we are drunk. So that was that, and that was the most unpleasant part, I guess. And the bathhouse that we were in, I don't remember the name of it. It's like in the south of the city. There's one in the south and one in the north. We went into the southern one because it was recommended to us, and it was a little bit more expensive. So we wanted to try like the best, according to just the simple rule: if it's expensive, it's better. But it was really incredible. It was like It's like a palace. It's old, it's beautiful, and we spent 4 hours there. We got our like massages, and we had a really, really good time. Uh, and the next day after that, we spent like about a week in Budapest. The next day we uh, took a bus. We had a bus, and we went to Bulgaria to reunite with our families and to have a little seaside vacation. Like also nothing, nothing fancy. All the boring stuff like swimming. I don't know, alcohol consumption and resting. I actually spent a lot of time on the balcony. Just I got my Vita finally, and I had time to beat like Gravity Rush, Muramasa Rebirth, and Final Fantasy IV. So that was I was doing, and of course, yeah, consuming a lot of bourbon at the time. Actually, yeah, Jim Beam is like my favorite. I think my favorite type of whiskey, like mark of whiskey. I was drinking that, and after that, yeah, we spent a week there and went to Moscow, where we had like 2 days because before the another festival that our club organizes, and it's one of the biggest in Russia, and it has the most like interesting war, I guess, in Russia, because we do all sorts of stuff, but it was a lot of work. I think I spent like 5 days there, and one of the days was filming for another movie, another war scenes, and we were basically just kicking the shit out of each other for the whole day on camera. And it was, yeah, I don't like it. It's pretty dull, but yeah, we got paid for it. But whatever, so whatever. And the next several days we were just helping with the festival, helping organizers, carrying like big stuff, building things and stuff like that. And of course taking part in the war. The war is, as I said, it's very different compared to like Europe, because the scale is different and much more things are allowed. For example, in Russia, archers are allowed, so the whole thing becomes much more tactical. And we have the battlefield where we have like structures and obstacles. We have like a river, like bridges, what are like fort structures, like towers and stuff like that. So it's much more interesting. We have different games like we have Circle of Odin, Circle of Loki, which like one-on-one fights. But in certain of Loki, you also can like cheat people and hit them in the back of the head. Just two people are fighting, you just kill both of them by sneaking. So we have like Battle for the Chest is when you have like 4 teams and 4 corners, and the chest is in the middle. You have to like basically it's capture the flag. Yeah, it's just four teams against 4 teams, just annihilation, and of course big battles. And big battles are also pretty fun. We have like a fort siege. Well, just it's not a fort, it's like a camp, but a guarded camp with a tower and stuff like that. So yeah, we won most of like Zero Wolf won most of the challenges, because it was us and our trusted friends against. Well, I wouldn't say the underdogs, because the guys were actually really, really good. And in Russia, it's a bit different. People are like more tactical, more cautious, because everybody hits like crazy. So nobody wants to get like traumas or anything. So if you're hit with a broadaxe, you most likely fall, not because you're hit, but because the hit was so hard that you had no other chance but to fall. I was told that it's because of like Russian medical insurance system, because if I break an arm, pretty much the state covers it, while in Europe, if you break an arm, you have to like pay for it yourself. So like in Russia, in terms of medical insurance, only like teeth are not covered by the state. So a lot of reenactors miss some teeth. Some in front, some in the back. So, but yeah. So that was that, and then I had a week of doing nothing before my last Before my last festival, it's on another, like on the other, on another period of time. I also every year I go to take part, like it's mostly to rest actually, on like the Napoleonic Wars, so the Battle of Borodino. It's like one of the biggest battles in the Napoleonic Wars. I think like the bloodiest battle in that time period and for the longest time, if I'm not mistaken. I may be mistaken, but I go there to mostly to rest, except this year. So I spend a week on the I fight though, and I stay with the French side with the Polish troops, actually, with the Polish Ulan. They're the cavalry, light cavalry of the Polish forces, and I stay with them in their camp, and their camp is awesome. It's it's apart from every other camp. It's in the woods, and this year we even hired a chef, so the food was just great, and we didn't have to do anything to make it. But yeah, there was still a lot of building stuff, but and like taking care of horses and stuff like that. But I didn't care much. I was I was pretty much doing nothing, and but this year, that's why I don't have a beard. I went into the battle, into the this period, history period battle, for the first time, and I went as a part of the light infantry unit. That's the 9th battalion of the French forces. So they told me that I had to pretty much shave off my beard because it was not in fashion during that time period, because Napoleon didn't have one, the pussy. But yeah, so that happens, and the war is quite interesting, and it's quite amazing actually. I don't have photos, but I have video footage of it, so it should be playing actually. It should be playing right now. It's a large-scale battle, and just the cannons are roaring, the cavalry everywhere, just the infantry going in boxes, shooting the muskets, the rifles, or whatever. And being a part of it is pretty fun because it's incredibly tactical. You feel like you're one of the troops on your Warhammer fantasy battle battlefield. And in the end, it all comes down to actually, if it was totally real, it should be totally all going down to who has the biggest, the hairiest balls. Because when you are facing the whole other direction and the other block of infantry flanks you and just lines up their guns to shoot at you, and you're facing the whole other direction and you can't do anything until you regroup, that's when your balls get tested. And you either shit your pants and run or follow orders. And just all my respect to our ancestors who actually fought that war, because it was, I imagine it would be pretty bloody. Because when you're in the Viking, in the early medieval fights, it's a lot of your skill is actually what's keeping you alive. In here, it's just it's your commanders, and I don't even know your luck, because when two lines of infantry are facing each other and shooting at each other, you just have to pray that no bullet hits you. I don't see any other way. But the war was really fun. It is a big scale war. Yeah, shooting the rifle, it's like a real. It's blanks. It's usually just shooting blanks, but it's entertaining nonetheless. And this is it actually. That was my summer, and I'm finally home, back to my PC, work, training, getting my equipment in order, and this whole YouTube guff and video games, of course. Nothing too important, I think, came out in summer while I was gone, and actually nothing too interesting happened in the gaming industry while I was gone. Only the whole misogyny argument and the corruption of gaming press, with people just flinging shit at each other for months. And I don't even want to dwell on these topics. I think people go too over the board with it. It's just don't, my advice is just don't buy games that don't suit you, and you can find out almost anything about any game now. So vote with your wallets. If you don't buy games, then people don't make it. Your wallet is the strongest vote you have, so just be reasonable about it. And it's the whole misogyny argument and the gaming press. Just choose a critic that suits you. I don't know, my choices are Total Biscuit and Yahtzee Croshow. They're pretty famous, so yeah, I think a lot of people choose to go to them for their particular opinions, and I find them fun. And you may find different people. Yeah, you can watch my videos. I even like some of them, and maybe you will enjoy it. So yeah, the next big game that I'm gonna play is Shadows of Mordor. This whole Lord of the Rings new game, and let's see how it turns out. I know nothing about it, but I think I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna beat it and make a video about it. Just the thing I always do. But most importantly, in October I'll be going back to Europe, and I'm going to Holland, and I'm going to sail from Holland to Germany on a frigate called Standard. It's the first frigate of Russians owned Peter I that he built, and it's the copy, of course. It's not the real thing, but it's a genuine copy, and this is gonna be a lot of fun. So maybe I'll make a vlog about it as well. Okay, so thanks for watching, guys. The name is GrrrVahrrr, and I shall see you from within my next video.
Goodbye, goodbye, see you again. Goodbye, goodbye, see you, my friend.